So welcome everyone, and a small audience this year of faithful, and certainly like to welcome some of our very early shareholders and even founders. And great to see Rob back in the country and in the room. So in the audience today and up the front here, you know, half the people in this room have been founders, helped us put the business together back in 2015 and 2016, and some of you have been shareholders for much of that time. So great to see you here. And the purpose of today is to, as Neil said, is to talk about, you know, what we've achieved the past 12 months, and but more importantly, set the scene for the next 12 to 24 months and beyond. And this morning you may have seen a YouTube that was or a presentation that was recorded on Monday and was released this morning by Research as a Service. Finola Burke, our analyst who covers our stock, she interviewed me on Monday. The questions we put together were designed to provide a suitable environment to address some of the questions that you yourselves have asked me, and others have reached out and asked me about FY23 and what the outlook's like for FY24. So the focus today and the presentation is very much about a recap of our business model, a recap of FY23, but mostly to talk about FY24 and beyond, and importantly, what we're going to do in our important US market. And after that, welcome, you know, any questions that you might have in the past. And obviously, there's a broader audience of the Pointerra people here today. I'd be happy to answer any questions. So, three brief elements here: product market growth strategy, that recap on 23 and 24, recap on 23, I should say, and then the outlook. So, just a quick reminder about why we're here. I mean, a lot of people in this room met in about May of 2015, and we came together, as often happens by chance. And the common theme was figuring out a way to turn a really cool technology idea into a business and a cloud platform and a product and service that people would pay money for. Obviously, it's been a bit of a journey since then. We listed in 2016 and went to the US in 2018, and you know, the fiscal 21, fiscal 22, fiscal 23, you know, broadly have seen significant growth across our two main markets, and really the journey we've been on in terms of customers and revenue, but also the people that we've brought onto the business from the initial 6 people that we started with through to earlier this year, as much as 30, and trimmed down a little bit now. Has been a really planned journey that we kind of set ourselves for back in 2016, and it was principally about leveraging this incredible technology that Shane, who's one of my co-founders and is our largest shareholder, some incredible maths that he came up with, some patents that have been awarded in multiple jurisdictions around that technology, but importantly, a business model that brings the technology solution to life. And of course, you know, we were deploying to the cloud back in 2016 and 2017 when it was really a new journey for a lot of enterprise customers. We were still cloud nervous, and of course in 2023 and more recently that's not really an issue we come across anymore. And of course, we also talk about digital twins, and back in 2016-17 we were more talking about point clouds and analytics, and our focus was what we did. So we had phrases like data as a service and analytics as a service, and it wasn't until a year or so ago that we thought about our branding and what we would and our go-to-market strategy and what we're telling our customers. We realised we're telling them what we did, not what we did for them, and that resulted in us undertaking a rebranding exercise that generated this product stack that most of you will be familiar with. And it was really about explaining what we did to our customers and what problems we were solving, rather than what the actual tech stack did. Because in many respects, our customers, some of whom have been with us since 2017, continue to re-up their subscription and indeed grow their subscription, because they trust us to deliver, to perform, to be always on. You know, when you hear about cyber attacks and these sorts of things keep us awake at night, as you can imagine, because we're a cloud business. We're wholly reliant on AWS and its always on availability, its ability to deter cyber threats. And the pleasing, and look, this is not something we take for granted, but pleasingly, for the past number of years, we would measure our downtime and our platform unavailability in seconds and minutes per annum, which is truly extraordinary. And so that's a big testament to AWS, our partner, who we're now certified with, and we're actually on their marketplace. I'll talk about that a bit later because it's quite important for us. So their performance has been fantastic, but it's the team, a representative of whom are here, but the majority are downstairs working away, either in product or engineering, or even at the front end in our AI efforts in our R&D engine. It's those guys and girls that keep the lights on and make sure that our customers around the world, whenever they want to log in and when you think about what we do, it's easy to get caught up in financials and quarterlies, but our customers, some of them spend thousands per annum of data, but some spend millions. And some of our large US customers spend tens of millions of dollars per annum acquiring data. And they entrust us with that data, and they entrust us for that data to be always on, for them to be able to access it, to run queries, to ask questions of their physical world using our platform, and to solve problems either programmatically or dynamically, in a browser environment. So that, if you think about the level of trust that's involved with a customer to not only safeguard an asset that they've paid a substantial amount of money for, but for it to be always on, it is something that's easy to take for granted, and I think it's worth noting in this environment that our customers are our biggest asset. Our people are important, our tech stack's important, you investors are important. We're all part of the story that goes to making a great business, but the trust of customers is hard earned and easily lost. And we've got some fantastic customers, and I'll explain a bit later why we're really buoyant and optimistic about the outlook for FY24 and beyond, particularly with those bigger customers and those customers that have had program delays in aerial and mobile capture that have led to the delays we've experienced in the last fiscal year in terms of being able to invoice for new activities on our platform. The 6 sectors, again, a bit of a refresh. We set, again, if you think back to, if any of you were in this room a lot, were in 2016 and 17, we're pretty much, this looks and feels different, but we're pretty much where we said we'd be, which is helping the people who generate foundational digital twin data. Of course, we didn't call it digital twin data a few years ago, but those companies on the left are very much they help the viral spread of our platform. So if you think about all the survey mapping customers we have in the region and globally, and all the AEC customers we have, those people are delivering data in one way, shape or form to these people that own assets and operate assets. So a lot of our asset owner customers have come to us via exposure to the platform from the survey mapping in the AEC sector. And so it's really symbiotic. It's left to right for a reason. These people generate foundational digital twin data on the left, and then our asset owners and operators use digital twins to manage the physical world. And if anyone else tries to, if you're ever asked what do they actually do, we literally provide a platform that allows our customers to manage their physical world. Their physical world might be this building, it might be the road network, it might be the rail network, it might be a mining operation in the northwest, it might be an oil and gas facility floating in the South China Sea. But all of those businesses are undergoing rapid digital transformations, and that's a theme I'll come back to later in the presentation, and are using digital twins in some way, shape, or form to manage their physical work, the thing they care about. So that's a quick recap of what we do and why we're here. And I'd like to think that journey, that commercial side of the journey, and has been really disciplined. We set ourselves, particularly as a group of founders, to never raise a huge amount of capital and hire a whole bunch of people and figure it out and cross our fingers and hope that it works. We've been very judicious with the way we've onboarded people, and if you think about our cost base, which is largely fixed, and most of it's spent on a month-by-month basis, it's our people. So we've been really careful about identifying and onboarding quality people. We take a long time to hire people, and we're very quick to to end that relationship if it doesn't look like it's working. What I've learned in my journey, and a lot of the other leadership team have learned, is that emotional intelligence, I've said this before in this forum, it's the number one quality we look for in people with high emotional intelligence. When something goes wrong, and something always goes wrong, so that's the certainty. People with high emotional intelligence don't look back and try to assign blame and get spun up about what happened. They figure out what to do next. And anyone who's involved in anything high performance, and we're aspiring to be a high performance business, but there is a high performance athlete in the room, and that individual through his career would have been coached to not worry about what happened, but to move on, and obviously you try and make sure that mistakes don't happen again. And that's one of the biggest qualities we look for in our business, is that when we see a mistake, we identify it and we ensure that we don't make it again. But I can't emphasise enough the people. Again, I said a few minutes ago, we've got a great tech stack. We've got a blue ocean in terms of our business model and our solution. We've got a really passionate and supportive investor base, but it's the people that have got us to where we've got so far, and that same group of people will take us to where we'd like to get to. And I guess the only other point I'd like to make about our growth strategy is that it's customer-led. I talked before about how important it is to get the trust of customers, but in a business that's looking across 6 different sectors, it's really easy we've dealt with this challenge along the way, to be an inch deep and a mile wide. So never really good at anything, but trying to do everything. So what we've adopted is the philosophy of letting our customers and their dollars do the talking. So our head of product, who's not in the room, he's based in the US. He sits in between the BD and sales guys and the dev and engineering team that are in this room today. And they figure out how to prioritise the hundreds and hundreds of requests and system enhancements and improvements that we're looking at across those sectors. And it's a simple, and sternifying that and prioritising that's really, really simple with your customer focus. So our customers who pay us not only to use our platform, but to develop bespoke enhancements, I should say, and solutions for the sector-specific challenges that they face. If you think back to our product stack, Pointerra Core sits across all those sectors and does pretty much the same thing. But when you get into analytics and answers, where you're getting into business intelligence and risk, that the C-suite want to make use of, and understanding in a really simple way, what's the status of their physical world. Those analytics and that business intelligence stack is very nuanced, is very sector specific, and the development of those solutions is very much led by our customers saying, "Hey, can you do this? Hey, can you do that?" And I think if there was another takeaway from this sort of business recap, it would be that our people are really important, and we're very much customer led. We've never sat in a room or gone to market saying that we know best. What we've said is we think we've got a pretty cool platform. We've got some amazing tech, but most importantly, we've got a really engaged team who work day and night with our customers, solving their problems and helping them get more use out of the platform. And that's a virtuous relationship. Those customers are loyal. They find ways to spend more money, and over time you'll see that reflected in that breakout operational leverage moment that everyone's looking forward to breathlessly, where the cost base starts to flatten out a bit relative to continue growth in repeat revenue year on year. So that's a quick recap on the business and why we're here. Again, with FY23, I've only got a couple of slides here because it's already 5 months in the rear vision mirror. We've had our full re-app, we've had our full year annual report, and indeed a lot of the questions that I've been asked over the past 3 and 4 months about FY23 were distilled into the interview we did this morning. And if you haven't watched that yet, I'd compel it to you, and hopefully it does come across as a bit of a Dorothy Dix style staged Q&A, but we did that on purpose. Finola has been a fantastic supporter of ours over the journey, and as an investment banking graded analyst, her her view and her overview and her thoughts on our business are really well regarded by the institutional investment community. So I compel that interview to you. But certainly, if you've got questions today, feel free to ask them. So when we talk about FY23 again, there's nothing new here. You would have all seen this before. This slide was in our 4E, our preliminary on 31 August, and what you won't see here is me talking about our EBITDA result, our loss. Obviously, no one wants to preside over a business that doesn't burn or have a profit objective or a near-term EBITDA objective. In FY23, we got caught on the wrong side of that judicious approach to adding cost, growing our business by adding people, and a reliance on half a dozen very large US customers who all, for different reasons, but particularly in one sector, hit the pause button on these really regular programs. And I talked to Fenora about the fact that those programs they're not optional. Our big civil infrastructure customers and prospects have to spend that money more or less every year acquiring remote sensing data, satellite imagery, aerial and mobile LiDAR, in order to understand the condition of their network, the thing they care about, so they can optimise their repairs and maintenance and optimise their sustaining capex. Now that said, within a fiscal 23, fiscal 24 period for Pointerra, it unfortunately is easy to get caught on the wrong side of those programs, pausing, and of course we can only generate revenue when our customers receive data from their contractors. So I think the big takeaway from here, and I'll talk about it a bit more in the outlook for FY24, is that a couple of the conferences I've been to in the past 6 months in the US, and typically the sector conferences where we get together with the aerial and mobile mapping community, most of them have had remember their fiscal year as a calendar year. Most of them have had a forgettable fiscal 23, even though it's still underway for them. But to a person, to a business, and it's a small community. There'd be a couple of dozen sizable mobile and aerial LiDAR mapping businesses in North America, and a couple of dozen medium-sized ones, and we've got relationships with almost all of them. They're either a customer or or one of our customers. They're a supplier to one of our customers. To a person, to a business, to a man and woman, their overriding theme is how are we going to deal with the demand that's coming down the road in FY24 and beyond for an unprecedented amount of mobile and aerial capture to take advantage of this north of $1 trillion of civil infrastructure investment that's about to happen in the US. And so I've kind of jumped forward a bit there, but I think if there's a takeaway for FY23, it's that we think we underperformed clearly on revenue and invoicing and cash collections. But the loss that arose was a function of having people that were hired in a disciplined manner with the expectation that those revenues and cash flows would support that group of people. And if you think back to our record in raising capital in the markets, since our IPO, we've done a couple of raises. Prior to the one just recently, I think we raised $2.5 million back in July 2020. So we've demonstrated our ability almost to bootstrap and self-fund an ASX listed company using our customers along the way. And so whilst FY23 was disappointing, I think if there's a takeaway for you guys today, it's not about those numbers, it's about the platform and the sophistication and depth of the platform across all those sectors compared to where it was 12 months ago or where it was 24 months ago. And if 12 and 24 months ago, a far less mature platform sector by sector was able to deliver the sorts of revenue and cash flow numbers that we saw in FY21 and FY22, then I'd argue that the outlook for FY24 and beyond should be justifiably optimistic. A couple of the highlights, because I like to talk about highlights, and I think to the point of us of our approach to fiscal management, we in the second half of FY23, we really reined in the spending, and we looked closely at the people we had hired and the people that we were planning to hire. and we managed to really skinny up that EBITDA result. But importantly, and I think this is the big driver for FY24, really on that third point there, the sector expansion, particularly in natural resources and in road and rail transport, as well as the O&C sector, is really going to make it's going to insulate our top line, our revenue and our cash flow line against the volatility that we've seen in the past sort of 12 to 18 months. So, 12 to 18 months ago, 80 to 90% of our revenue was from the US, and most of that was from a handful of customers. I think when we're standing here at 12 months' time, we'll be looking at a very different revenue mix. And the idea being that we're a little more insulated to the to sector-specific challenges that might cause a group of customers to go fast or go slow. You look at the oil and gas sector, who at the moment are playing catch-up after years of underinvestment in sustaining capex and OpEx. Oil pre-COVID oil was challenging. During COVID, people would pay to take. There was a bizarre period where the futures got out of whack, and you'd be paid to take physical oil. So right now, the oil price is in an environment where the global tier one oil and gas companies are playing catch up. And their FPSOs, their onshore and offshore production assets, the ones that are nearing end of life, that are going into refurbishment and dry docks, and indeed the new equipment that's coming out of manufacturing centres like China. There's unprecedented need to get those into production. Digital twin strategy is central to shortening up the time it takes you to commission a new asset, to take it out of commission during a rebuild, or in fact, or indeed to decommission it. So we've got this situation again where there's a bit like the civil infrastructure story. There's tons and tons of capital going into production assets. There is a shortage of resources, and there is a shortage of people. And we'll get later in the presentation talk about the real structural tailwinds and the reason why we're really excited about the future of our business, because of the enormous amount of money in civil infrastructure and in natural resources that has to get into the ground. And when you've got that capital needing to get into the ground, and you have a shortage of people and you have a shortage of materials, you have to innovate. So the people that are slowest to innovate across our customer sectors are the second from the left folk. They imagine and design buildings and infrastructure of tomorrow, but they've been doing it the same way for a long time. And right now, that group are scrambling to be able to deliver all the investment that these four sectors are trying to make. So again, we think we're perfectly in place to take advantage of that. The other observation I make here from an R&D perspective, and it's a big feature of the few slides coming up, is the investment in AI. And I get a lot of questions. Look at ChatGPT. It's revolutionised the way a lot of industries and sectors operate. Is that a risk? Is someone going to be able to ask generative AI, hey, tell me X, Y, Z, and does that make your platform redundant? And I think I asked Mark a whole heap of questions, and Greg the other day, and I was going to talk about them today in detail, but they made it on the cutting room floor, unfortunately, Mark. But we've got, what I'm really proud of is, as someone who's a complete layperson when it comes to maths and engineering generally, is the young team we've got under the stewardship of the guys in this room that are being given free rein to really explore the boundaries of merging this incredible AI environment into our sort of old school tech stack and our sort of more traditional approach to building 3D data analytics. So again, I've talked about our moat at the Blue Ocean that we think we operated from a business perspective. We've got some IP that's demonstrated through the global patents to have a unique capability, and we're adding to that with our investment into AI. And as a business that probably holds one of the world's largest multi-tenant databases of multi-tenant 3D data, we're uniquely placed to have access to enormous amounts of data to train our next gen tech stack on. And for us, that's so exciting. And the kids that are coming out of college today and university that are coming out of the software engineering and the maths programs, they're way out over their studies, which is just fantastic in terms of us being able to accelerate the development of these really powerful analytics for our customers. So having sort of looked briefly back at FY23, but through the prism of FY24 and beyond, this is probably where I wanted to spend the next 10 or 15 minutes talking to you all. And I want to talk about the macro environment, which is the industry and the market, what's happening, what's changed in the last 12 months, and then I want to talk about what that means for us, and then what FY24 and then FY25, 6 through 7 should look like for our company. So from left to right, the global geospatial sector, when we put the prospectus together back in 2016, 2017, there was some, and I'd like to go back and check on this stuff. There was a report in there, and there was some statements made about growth, cumulative annual growth in spend in the geospatial sector. And I think you look forward 6 or 7 years, and the actual spend has far outpaced what's forecast back there. And what's been the toughest for the sector has been the proliferation of the pace of improvement in the hardware and the software. It's become way faster, way better, way cheaper, which means that the high-end LiDAR generating units that used to cost $250,000, you can now access for 50 to 100. And because they're easier to use, and the software is easier to use, that technology is morphing from the domain of the survey mapping firm into the asset owners. So most of our big asset owner customers have their own geospatial business units. They have their own survey mapping teams. To a person, their biggest issue isn't buying the cool toy, whether it's a drone or some other robotic sensor that crawls around in places you don't want to send people to generate massive 3D and 2D data files. The biggest issue is operationalising the use of that equipment. What does that mean? It means that the people who are in the trenches running these businesses on a day-to-day basis, they'd love to adopt new technology, but only if it could work within the cadence of their workflow and the decisions they need to make. So a person in charge of grade control in an open cut mining business can't wait a day or two for a drone flight to be processed and analysed and to give the mining superintendent the information they need about grade control, about production volumes, about the health of the haul ramps, of the safety burns, etc. So what our customers are telling us and our partners know, and this was a thing that came through the interview that I did with Finola, is, hey, people like Emerson, you guys really need to partner with Pointerra because you've got great hardware, you've got great software, but we need access to the answer from the data quicker than you can currently provide. So please partner with them. We're buying equipment from you. We're subscribing to Pointerra's platform. All your data ends up in their platform. Can you guys stick your solutions together, and we'll buy more of the things that you're trying to sell us. But at the moment, they're great sort of opportunities for us, but unless we can operationalise the use of them, we can't buy more. So one of the big tailwinds we see for us looking into FY24 and beyond is these partner opportunities, and not systems integrators. So that's a whole nother channel. But because it's the systems integrators, the big consulting firms that are leading the charge in digital transformation and central data and then for a digital twin. But these are the hardware manufacturers who are popping up on a daily basis. There's huge amounts of capital being thrown globally into miniaturising LiDAR, getting it from being mechanical to solid state. So even Elon will want to put LiDAR units on a Tesla. Whereas at the moment they rely on camera technology. There's just the amount of money that's going into it is so great, and the amount of data that's being produced is unprecedented. That everyone's struggling with operationalising the use of the fit, and that's where we've always sat. And Rob's in the room, and we scratched out the classic on a napkin back in 2015. What should our product look like, and what should we do, and what we shouldn't do? And looking through the Nearmap lens, the message was, hey, if you can find a way to not capture the data, but but solve the problem of interpreting and analysing it. You'll create a nimble, capital-light business model that should scale really quickly and be quite high margin. So that, when we look back, that's been the strength of our business model. Our weakness is that we don't produce the data. So, Rod scaled an amazing Australian success story in VMAP, and they flew planes and curated their own data and then sold that the insight from that data to their customer base. We sit in the middle, waiting for those LiDAR and imagery flow to generate the data and get it to our customers. Sometimes via our platform, sometimes back into our platform from their customers. So it's a really subtle but important observation to make about where we've placed the business. So we've set it in a way that it can scale really, really, really quickly, and we'll talk about some of the challenges we've had in scaling in a minute. And we know with the modelling we've got on what our cost base looks like versus revenue, that operational leverage inflection point is on the near horizon. But importantly, at revenue scale, the EBITDA margins are tremendous. And again, some of you will have heard me talk about this over the past few years. None of that's changed, and indeed the drivers to accelerate the growth in revenue and the scale of the revenue opportunity, those total addressable markets figures, they have changed. They've got bigger, and our biggest challenge has been execution of enterprise sales, and I'll come back to that a bit later. But see, there is for us, if there was if you were to leave here with a takeaway about the sector and the market, what's driving it, it is the need to operationalise the use of this really cool hardware, and the second last box there, particularly in North America, $1.2 trillion US that has to get into the ground in the next 10 to 15 years across road, rail, and power and water, and that's being matched with state and local funds and the balance sheets of the privately held civil infrastructure utilities. There is no way that money's going to get spent without innovation. And again, we think we've positioned ourselves really well with a solution that's open, was architected the cloud forward and the cloud open at either end from an API perspective, so really easy to integrate into existing enterprise applications and the enterprise applications of the future. So, I come back to probably the biggest takeaway today for everyone, and should have been the theme last review before. This is a sales execution story. It's not about product market fit. It's not about, do our customers like us? Do they want to keep using us? Do they want to keep paying us more? It's about the ability to convert success in business units in a big enterprise into a cross enterprise sale that is 7+ figures and is in for renewal year on year. So that's the macro. What does that mean for Pointerra? AEC, natural resources, transport and defence, we think will outperform relative to utilities, to power utilities. So in a year's time, when we look back at our revenue mix, we think electric utilities will still be the largest and will be for some time. But relative to those sectors, I think we'll see those outperform, albeit off a small base from a percentage perspective. Growth in those sectors, and indeed the electricity utility sector, is very much about customer advocacy. We could have an unlimited marketing budget. We could spend more money with Steve than he would know what to do with on our digital promotion on different channels. But there's nothing like customer advocacy, and for us, particularly in the US, where we're a much less well-known business than we are in this country, customer advocacy is key. And we've had some great advocacy from our large US customers, and we think that's going to be really important for us into FY24 and beyond. I've probably stolen a bit of my comments on the middle box there about the investing in AI, and I think people are fearful of AI and they're embracing it. The fact that you can type a natural language question into a screen and get an answer compiled from every single piece of written word that's ever been put on the internet, it's pretty cool. We are light years from that being a reality in LiDAR and 3D data, so we're not going to see ChatGPT come and just all of a sudden be able to answer every question about managing the physical world. What we are doing, as I mentioned before, is using those neural network approaches, and Shane's working on some next generation fusing of imagery and LiDAR, which will be world first. Some stuff called NERF that maybe you can talk about later, Shane, which I think I've forgotten what the acronym means, but the fusion of LiDAR and imagery of modest quality into something that's actually better, so the sum of the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, is something that there's probably no one in the world that can do what we think we can do with imagery and LiDAR that are collected from different sensors, but at the same time, and the ability to fuse them and make more out of than what you could get out of the individual sources. I think is really exciting for us in terms of how that flows through to our product stack and our solution stack. We've made a couple of investments this year already in seeing an enterprise sales photo, one in Australia and one in the US, and those gents have had immediate impact. That's shown us how far the gap has been for us between our incredible sales team, our account execs who work really well with business units, with even our largest customers, but have struggled, as have we, to bridge the gap to the C-suite, to the SVP group, and unlock corporate budget across, and risk and IT and legal across sophisticated, multi-billion-dollar public companies, and take that spend and the lumpiness of that spend out of the business unit and have it applied across corporate, like those companies would treat their Microsoft 365 license. And so we know that we need more people like that, and we know that those people can qualify and deliver seven-figure recurring revenue. I did mention channel partners before. I talk about them a bit in the interview. We started this business with so I was the first salesperson, and our chairman, the sadly departed Greg Griffiths at the time, said we could hire a salesperson when I closed my first sale. And what we were doing prior to that was focusing on channel partners. Obviously, channel partners give you an incredibly leveraged approach. You get to utilise their sales teams of go-to-market capability. If we look back at that approach through 2016, 17, 18, we didn't have a very sophisticated product compared to what we have today. And so it was harder. Our LiDAR was new, cloud was new, so it was harder for those channel partners to contextualise. What we're getting now, as I mentioned earlier, is our customers telling those channel partners, hey, you need to work with Pointerra. And the systems integrators, the Accentures, the Deloittes, the IBMs of the world who are getting paid by these massive corporations to undertake digital transformation strategies, they're looking to deploy the SAP HANA and the other cloud-based workflow solutions, and central to that has to be the ability to plug and play. And for us in the next couple of years, I think you'll see some great stories about how we've seamlessly integrated in SAP with NASPO, with some of the leading ERP and asset management applications that are being brought to bear by these systems integrators. So again, massively leveraged sales reach. And then the driver to that is these digital transformation programs. There's not a customer of any size or a prospect that we talk to that isn't in some part of their digital transformation journey. And they've almost all had a crack at a digital twin. And the digital twin means lots of things to lots of different people. So I won't try and qualify it in this forum or indeed ever. By and large, and we've got a tier one customer who's spent a couple of $100 million trying to build the world's best digital twin, and it exists in abstract, that they haven't been able to operationalise it into the core business. So we think that our little platform and our little story is going to be really central to helping some of these digital transformation programs be successful by being able to seamlessly and instantly deploy an infinitely scalable digital twin solution. And again, we've seen that feeding into sales growth for us. Looking forward. So this theme here about a growth trajectory resuming. we demonstrated a pretty rapid growth trajectory from FY20 through 21 through 22. First half of FY23 and of course the back end of FY23 and Q1 of this year, we kind of had to straighten up. And so what's going to cause that to turn around? Why should you leave here today full of confidence that that the team that you entrusted with your investment dollars is going to be able to turn around that business and see that reflected through share price growth? So we've talked before about the US utility program delays resolving. I've talked about the emerging civil infrastructure CapEx programs, the $1.2 trillion plus that needs to get into the ground in the next 10 years. It's unprecedented. This level of investment hasn't happened since post-World War II in North America. And if any of you have travelled there and have dealt with the experience of civil infrastructure, in some cases it's incredible. It's world class, and in other cases it demonstrates 20, 30 years of underinvestment. So they're playing catch up. They're focusing inwards a lot more than they have been over the last 20 or so years. And for us, that's in the North American market. That second point there is the biggest. If you're ever going to be in a market with a solution that helps people put dollars into the ground, this is the time and place. The third item there, the natural resources sector growth, I talked about oil and gas, and the catch up they're playing in the mining and extractive industries, or the bulk materials space. The theme there is really is safety and risk, and pulling people out of harm's way, and managing risk, managing reputation, corporate risk as it relates to tailings dams and catastrophic accidents and outcomes that can happen as a result of not understanding the condition of the asset at scale. And again, it's right into our playbook. So we're seeing our existing and new tier one customers in natural resources not just recommit, but also grow their spend and communicate to us their plan to grow their spend from 5 figures to 6 figures to 7 figures over the next 2 years. So they're real conversations and real customers with a real plan to grow their spend site by site from 5 sites to 40 sites, for the example of one customer. We've always been focused on the need to be profitable and the need to be able to demonstrate a pathway to profitability, and obviously quarter by quarter, the cash flow positive. And we've also talked over the journey about how tough that is when 90 days comes and goes and you rely on a couple of customers to either allow you to raise an invoice or even pay that on time. And so that volatility quarter by quarter is not something that we expect to resolve soon. But and that's been if you look back over our quarterly cash flows for the last 14, 16 quarters, you'll see that. What we do know, what we have conviction on is the outlook at a more macro level from FY24 and then into FY25, which is a move to becoming cash flow positive and to generate underlying EBITDA. We stopped talking earlier this year about ACV, and have been really challenged by the interaction that we've had with those big enterprise customers in North America, who've paused their programs, whether that's the utility sector or the big multi-site rollout that we're doing, big 500-site logistics opportunity in the US customer, I should say, where for 2 quarters that program was paused, and that program's back on track. But incorporating the ACV and then having that ACV drag out in terms of reported revenues and cash flows has caused us a fair bit of grief. And we followed the view earlier this year that it was all confusing than less, and as a result decided to move to ARR reporting. Where at the moment a big chunk of that ARR is still those big corporates. So as those program delays are resolved, we're closer to the time that we think we'll be able to release an ARR that's reliable. And we were hoping that would be this side of Christmas, but I think I put in the video this morning, or it's recorded on Monday, that's probably going to be a New Year's thing, and particularly given that a lot of those customers are in the planning stage now for their fiscal 24, which starts on 1 January. The upside opportunity between now and Christmas is fallout funding, the North American folk being on that fiscal 24 year, have unspent budget and they look to allocate that. And so that's always a sweet spot for us as Australia. And this part of the world swings into summer holidays. The Yanks are pausing for a couple of days through their Thanksgiving period, but then the lead up to Christmas is a really busy period for them. And you know, I'm say quite a short break over Christmas and New Year, so there's a fair bit of activity on and a lot of hard peddling that those big customers looking to unlock what we call unspent budget for that funding, use it or lose it style funding. And but I think back to the theme of today and the theme of our business, which is people. We know what success looks like with the senior enterprise sales folk. We've got evidence of the outcomes of investing in those more sophisticated people in both the US and Australian operation. We've got more recruitment folk to recruit in the US and in Australia, and they'll be targeted across those civil infrastructure sectors to take advantage of that, you know, that $1.25 trillion that has to get in the round. So that's what FY24 looks like for us, and obviously we're 5 months into it now. But I thought I'd try and peek out a bit on the horizon, and I picked FY26 because it would be 10 years from our first full year as a public company. So we kind of listed on 1 July 2016. So if 30 June 17 was our first full year as a public company, and I think we might have been at first revenue in that year, although it might have been a bit later. 30 June 26 will be 10 years. And our belief is that by then, we will have a business that's reporting a material ARR and sizable operating leverage, delivering really high margin EBITDA. And you know, from a capital markets perspective, there's a massive prize for recurring revenue, and there's an even bigger prize for high margin EBITDA. We kind of set this business up to be one that could scale, get to operational leverage really quickly. We've had some challenges in the past fiscal year about that breakthrough. FY22 we were EBITDA positive, excluding share-based payments, and I think we were more or less cash flow break even. So FY22, you know, the launch pad was there for that inflection between the cost base and revenue, what's referred to as operational leverage, and we weren't able to deliver that in FY23. I think the fear in the capital markets is that, well, that was it, that you had your shot, you had your moonshot, and you fizzled out. I guess what I'm here to tell you guys, and by extension the people that might be watching this presentation later, that FY23 was painful, but the opportunity out through to FY26 is enormous. You know, this team's up for it. You know, we've looked at bringing people like Damon in to leverage the last 11 years he spent scaling enterprise SaaS businesses in North America, and we'll continue to target people with the sort of track record, both at board level and at leadership and sales level that Damon's had, particularly in the non-Australian part of the world. It's a lot easier to operate in your own patch, and we've diluted our ability to operate really successfully here because we've had a big foot in the US market, but you can be kings in Australia and still be a minnow. And we didn't build this business to be kings of Australia. We wanted to make an impact globally. As I said before, the challenges in product market fit. It's not competition. It's direct sales and channel partner execution at the enterprise level. That gets you 7 and 8-figure recurring ARR numbers, and do the mental maths. 5, 10, 15, 20, 7 and 8-figure ARR customers, and you're well past 50 million US recurring revenue. And the EBITDA that drops out of that is significant. The capital markets reward for that is significant, and ultimately that'll end in someone deciding they might like to own our business at some point. So we're really positive about the future. We're cognizant of the challenges that the last 12 months has caused shareholders, and I guess the message, the takeaway here is that's what this is about. As frustrating as FY23 has been. So thanks for your attention, everyone.